One of my concerns with this lesson is that you will take it legalistically. You'll treat it basically like some kind of code language or spell that you can cast and keep God from getting mad at you. The topic today is going to seem small. It's going to seem like it doesn't really matter, but it does matter. In fact, in order to help you and I both remember that this matters, let's begin by reminding ourselves what it was that plunged the entire human race and all of the universe into the curse. It was Adam and Eve eating a piece of fruit. So today we're going to be talking about our mentality, the attitude we have when we say things about our plans, even small things like, hey, I'll see you tomorrow. It reflects a attitude that we have naturally as humans that is not just counterproductive, but is offensive to God. The title of today's lesson is Humility Honors Honesty. I don't think it's immediately evident how us being humble will force us to be honest. But I'm going to read to you from James chapter 4, verse 13 through 17. Again, I'll be interpreting along the way, not reading straight out. But as I read, I think you'll see that clearly James makes this connection. So, verse 13, James says, "Now listen, those of you who say, today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. But you don't even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? It's just a vapor. It appears for a little while and then vanishes away." So he's targeting a specific group of people. Those of you who say, hey, today or tomorrow we'll go here and there and here or there and do this. Who doesn't say that? We all say stuff like that. So I guess James is talking to all of us. But he says, you don't know you're going to be here tomorrow. You're speaking with great confidence as if you have the power and you have the energy and you have the authority to make this happen. He's like, you don't know that you're going to be here tomorrow. He says, this is what you should say, verse 15. Because of that, because you could die today, because of that, you should say, if God is willing, we will live and do this or that. In other words, Lord willing. It's a phrase that I heard a lot when I was a kid, especially older folks. They would say, see you tomorrow, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. But that came right out of James chapter 4. It wasn't just a saying. I have a preacher friend who always adds, by God's grace. He'll say that to just about everything that has to do with any future plans or future connotation. And it's not just some little phrase we can add to make any of our plans A-okay with God. What James is really addressing is your spirit. Are you humble enough to recognize that you need God to help you with everything? Hey, I'll meet you at the store. Okay, fine. I'm not saying it's evil to say that, but are you including God in that? Again, that sounds awfully small. It sounds petty. It sounds like God's just looking for an excuse to punch us in the face. But again, don't forget, we're supposed to do everything for the glory of God, and Adam and Eve got us all into hell for eating a piece of fruit. So he said you should use this kind of attitude and this kind of language. If God is willing, we will live tomorrow. We will go here or there. We will do this or that. But he says, as it is, you're perfectly happy to boast as if you're in control. And he says, all such self-satisfaction and smug confidence is evil. Wow. That would be enough. That would be enough for me to sit down and soberly say, man, I'm going to need God's help for me to maintain an attitude of humility so that I can actually only say the things that I have a right to say. But he goes one step further. He says, verse 17, so now you know. And for anyone who knows to do good and doesn't do it, for him it is sin. I feel like this lesson is going to be hard for you to be convinced about. So I went through the Bible real quickly in my mind and put down about half a dozen illustrations of people saying, I'm going to do this. And it wasn't good. Satan said, hey, I'm going to ascend up into the hills. I will go up into the heavens. I will sit on the throne of God. I will be like the Most High. He just made his own plan without any consideration for what God's design and God's purpose was. How about the rebels at the Tower of Babel? Go to, let us make brick. Let us build us a tower up to heaven and make a name for ourselves. Never mind what God had said they should do. And they got in trouble. Solomon said, and Jesus also, fools go to war without knowing whether or not they can win. Jesus specifically said, if you go to build a house and you don't make sure that you have enough to finish it, well, then you leave it half done. Everybody says, well, what a fool. So as we're gauging our ability to make plans and do this or that tomorrow or the next day, next week, next year, we need to always be including the attitude of humility. Honestly, I don't know what I'll be doing tomorrow. I have an idea. I have a plan, but it's only by God's grace that it will happen. And the truth is, I ought to be willing to change that plan the moment that I see that God wants me to do something else, no matter how hell-bent I am on getting it done. Think of the wealthy farmer who said, ooh, I've made a lot of money. I've got a big crop. I'm going to tear down my barns and build bigger barns. And Jesus said, you're a fool. You're dying tonight. And then who's going to own all that stuff that you have? See, we're supposed to consult God about everything. It is evil to make my own plans without considering God or consulting with Him and without confidence in Him. So, I guess we all, from this point on, need to be saying, if God is willing, Lord willing, I'll do this or that. By God's grace, I'll do this or that. We probably need to say it so much that we feel a little awkward, a little uncomfortable, so it gets ingrained in our mentality and becomes not just a habit, but an attitude of life. Lord willing, I'll see you next time.